Hi, this is Kimberly. This is a synopsis and a critique of Chapter 17 of My Daddy is a Hero, How Chris Watts Went from Family Man to Family Killer by Lena Derhally. The title of this chapter is Chris Watts is an Enigma to Many. You know, when I said Chris Watts is, I had this really strong urge to start blurting out swear words. So, today's vocabulary word is enigma, which is a person or thing that is mysterious, puzzling, or difficult to understand. Keep that in mind. But yes, that would be our Chris Pinhead, asshat, chicken shit Watts. This is the chapter I've been waiting for. No more regurgitating discovery. Miss Lena is going to attempt to explain Chris Watts to us. Can it even be done? We are but mere mortals, and he's not one of this earth, I think. I must admit, I was thrown off. I naturally assumed that since we ended the last chapter with Monday morning, the 13th of August, that we would naturally pick up with Nicole Atkinson pissing off Lunkhead by setting off his house alarm and calling and texting him over and over, and calling the police for a wellness check because she was trying to check on her very good friend. But no, I was surprised by a completely different angle. Miss Lena starts the chapter telling us that Shithead is an enigma, and that is one of the reasons she was compelled to write this book. Quote, I could not think of another criminal case in the public eye where the perpetrator has displayed so few warning signs, end quote. Yes, unless he was just that talented at hiding what a deeply horrible piece of shit he was and still is. I often wonder if he has killed before. Miss Lena says she, quote, surmised that there were multiple factors that all came together at once in a perfect storm that culminated in the heart-trending result, end quote. Ruh-roh, shit's about to get fancy. But she goes on to say that there were no red flags. Quote, Chris never displayed rage or violent episodes toward anyone, and he tried to avoid conflict and violence at all costs. He de-escalated conflict rather than instigating it. He seemed happy to let Shanann direct him and tell him what to do. End quote. Agreed. He seemed to be happy with life and the way it went. Shanann being the mommy, and he liked that Bella and Cece let him be the daddy when they played together. Anadarko let him drive a big truck and play outside all day in the field. They even told him he could boss around people, but he was too timid for that. He told him, Shanann's real bossy, can she come up here and do it? And they said no. He didn't like it when people told him no. It made him really, really mad inside, but nobody knew. He just kept smiling. He was like, okay, that's perfect, thanks. So he ended up with more work to do and having to stay late until everybody was finished. But they even let him drive his big truck home every day. He liked all that. He was helpful and never showed any rage and avoided any kind of trouble at all costs and was agreeable, likable, kind, and conflict averse. Yeah, he was happy until Nikki Empanada told him that no, he wasn't. There is so much more to life than you have experienced. Stuff like anal sex and the great sand dunes and the very diverse menu at Lazy Dog Restaurant and talking about pretty rocks until his eyes glazed over. Tell me, Nikolai, have you ever been to Punta Cana? How about San Diego or New Orleans or Canada? Experienced the joy of having a baby, of moving cross country just because you could and wanted to experience something new? Just saying. He experienced all kinds of shit with Shanann, years of it. They had a shit ton of firsts together. Plus, she was classy and stunningly gorgeous. Oh yeah, and she washed her hair every day. But I see myself veering away from the chapter at hand. The author says, quote, the other fascinating aspect of Chris is that up until those few months before he murdered his family, from a diagnostic perspective, he did not outwardly fit the profile of any diagnosis available in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess this is the Bible for those that treat people who are not mentally sound. Mental health professionals use the DSM to diagnose their patients with mental illness and personality disorders, end quote. So I was right about the Bible thing. The thing that worries me is the author saying the other fascinating aspect of Chris is that up until those few months before he murdered his family, from a diagnostic perspective, he did not outwardly fit the profile of any diagnosis available in the DSM-5. Great. How the hell are we going to warn others now? Oh, brother. Miss Lena says she will construct a theory based on all the factors that came together in a perfect storm, utilizing the interviews, public information, and discovery documents. Okay, cool. She says labeling him, quote, a psychopath, family annihilator, or narcissist isn't enough, end quote. I'll say, I've used many words to label him. Dozens, hundreds, probably thousands. Still, I could go on and on and on. Miss Lena continues, quote, understanding violence and how one becomes violent helps us understand how we can prevent these types of senseless and horrific events from happening in the future. It is impossible to spot and avoid every tragedy, but with more understanding of how they come to happen, I hope we can learn to prevent some, end quote. Yes, please, we all want that. Quote, messages in childhood, complicated relationships, unique personality traits, environmental factors, and life stressors all seem to play a role in why Chris Watts ended up making the violent and catastrophic decisions that he did. Ultimately, everything that happened was Chris's fault, and the accountability lies fully with him, end quote. Let's read that again, just so we understand. Quote, messages in childhood, complicated relationships, unique personality traits, environmental factors, and life stressors all seem to play a role in why Chris Watts ended up making the violent and catastrophic decisions that he did. Ultimately, everything that happened was Chris's fault, and the accountability lies fully with him, end quote. It certainly was his damn fault. He disrupted and destroyed countless lives, not just the lives he murdered, but all the people that had to step in and clean up this mess and hold him accountable for his dumb shit actions and thoughts that he felt the need to make a reality. Why? Because he's a dumb fuck. Someone who gets easily confused and fails to use common sense when necessary. Someone is so fucking stupid you want to meet their parents so you can pour hot grease on their face. A person is so incredibly stupid that it's not even funny anymore. Someone whose head is small and shaped as a peanut and is as thick as shit, and inside there is a tiny little pea. That's their brain. Inside their peanut head is a pea brain. Oh, and their parents always named them Chris Asshat Watts. Miss Lena stresses that she is not diagnosing the ass-face pinhead, citing the Goldwater rule. This is in the American Psychiatric Association's Principles of Medical Ethics. It is unethical for a psychiatrist to give a professional opinion on a public figure whom they have not examined in person and without their consent. Miss Lena's not a psychiatrist, but I would imagine it kind of applies here, even though it's usually meant regarding political figures, like when everyone wanted to diagnose the current president. But Miss Lena feels it's her duty to inform the public of the profiles and traits of others that are similar to Pizzface, because, quote, sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones we least expect, end quote. Exactly. We need to know how to spot these sneaky, underhanded, shifty, deceitful, devious, disingenuous, crooked assholes. So, she wants to give us insight on the personality traits and disorders that Nimrod displayed. He has a personality? Then Miss Lena brings up a new term that I've not heard anyone discuss before, communal narcissism. She says it's important to understand all the subtypes of narcissism so we can put up a wall and then run like the wind. But then she doesn't explain it. According to Psychology Today, it's a new kind of narcissist. Why do we need more narcissists? I thought minimalism was in. And why am I doing my own research? She wrote a goddamn book, not me. Anyway, I did do my own research. I like investigating and studying new shit so I can draw conclusions and do that surmising stuff that Miss Lena does, where she surmises too. It makes me feel all highbrow and scholarly and shit. Remember, next time you are caught snooping, call it research and exploration. It'll make it all respectable and stuff. Anyway, this is what my conducting research found. A typical narcissist could perhaps justify or rationalize their current state of affairs by saying, quote, I deserve special treatment because I am exceptionally smart. I am an expert on almost any topic of conversation, end quote. I know at least one person like that. A communal narcissist, however, may reason this way, quote, I deserve special treatment because I'm extraordinarily warm-hearted, trustworthy, and helpful. Everyone feels at ease telling me all of their problems, end quote. And wow, remember when Fucktard was talking to Mr. Coder? That is basically what he said right before and after saying that he wasn't a monster. He was as cross as two sticks with Mr. Coder. He was like, I am not a monster, and he looked all indignant and shit. He said it the same way President Nixon said that he wasn't a crook. Yes, you are, fucktard. You are literally the stuff children's nightmares are made of. Everyone's nightmares. Not only are you a spine-chilling, loathsome, sinister, heinous fucking monster, you're also a wanker, brute, prick, you moron, dick, son of a bitch bastard, douche kebab, Nimrod, lame fiend, douchebag beast, ogre, devil, demon, barbarian, savage, villain, sadist, animal, twit, douche, bird brain, boogie, emotional, fuckwittage, blowhard, sit face, weirdo, squeezebag, wacko worm, ugly shit stain, shyster, ass twerp, troll face, swine, son of a motherless goat, sack, shit sack, sewer rat, ruffian, riffraff, worm, earwax eating, pain in the ass, man, bastard, swine, pig, you piece of shit, damn you all to hell and back, fuck off, piss off. In the words of Papa Ronnie, God Almighty Son. To get back to the topic, before I deviated just a wee bit, let us examine that last part again. Based on my research, a communal narcissist, however, may reason this way, quote, I deserve special treatment because I am extraordinarily warm-hearted, trustworthy, and helpful. Everyone feels at ease telling me all of their problems, end quote. Sounds like a load of horse shit to me. Quote, they are so full of themselves because they think, I'm the most selfless person I know, and I will be well known for the good deeds I have done. This makes sense. He's on a mission to be a prison minister or preacher or whatever that sack of shit he told Copycat Scribble Conundrum Clusterfuck Cadle. He probably pictures himself as the next Joel Osteen or Billy Graham, for God's sake. A communal narcissist also wants you to realize how magnificent and shiny and sparkly and fun and thoughtful, you know, you get it, that they are. They are happy and willing to fulfill the needs of others. They devote their lives to helping others. They are pompous and selfless martyrs. And they are highly introverted, even vulnerable narcissists. These individuals feel they are more temperamentally sensitive than others. They react poorly to gentle criticism and need constant reassurance. Yep, Shanann was constantly praising him and stroking his ego, even publicly, on Facebook Live. Important skills that we all need to know, according to Miss Lena, is communicating feelings and resolving conflict in a healthy way. She wishes this was taught in school. Wholeheartedly agree. Kids graduate high school. They can solve a geometry problem or even calculus, but they can't resolve a real life problem. They don't know how to budget money, write a check, iron a shirt, scramble an egg. The least we can do is warn and teach them about all the different varieties of narcissists. They'll be encountering narcissists their whole life. In the workplace, oh my God, they're rampant there. They may marry one. They may have in-laws or parents or anyone they have to deal with that are narcissists. Problems are undesirable and detrimental issues, or circumstances that need to be dealt with. They require attention and need addressing. Well, that just sounds too hard for this half-wit. The solution he came up with was to kill his family and start anew. And again, to paraphrase Papa Ronnie, he hauled off the bodies or something. God almighty, son. Common sense is so rare these days, it should be classified as a superpower. So, Miss Lena says that when one has a problem, one must then solve it. As one with common sense, I feel the first step is to identify the problem. Allow me. Chris Asshat Watts is the fucking problem, and I wish to identify him as a problem child. There. I have identified the problem. He got into trouble and the grown-ups were obligated to put him into timeout while they cleaned up the disturbing turmoil and mess and annihilation. And we are still obligated to care for him even though we don't want him anymore. Therefore, again, he's a problem child. Miss Lena wonders if this could have been avoided if Chris had had healthier coping mechanisms and if he knew there were pro-social ways to get what he wanted instead of using antisocial ones. What the hell does that even mean? I need it in layman's terms. Miss Lena continues. At the end of the day, it may be wishful thinking to believe we could stop someone as determined and dark as he has proven himself, end quote. That's what gets me, the damn dark side. Was he always dark? Perhaps this is why he was drawn to that dreadful heavy metal. Oh my God, that stuff gives me not only a damn headache, but anxiety. The screeching and the yelling and the banging of the music. But some people say that about orchestra music or something, you know. Miss Lena says she's going to give us her opinion and educated guesses, having now reviewed Discovery and using her extensive educational background and years of professional experience, quote, as a psychotherapist and my extensive training in psychotherapy, relational therapy, Imago relationship therapy, end quote. Since the author did not explain it, then I, of course, will. Imago is the Latin word for image. In Imago relationship therapy, Imago refers specifically to an unconscious, idealized concept of familiar love that an individual develops during childhood and which remains unchanged in adulthood. Still don't fucking understand it, but she says she realizes she does not have all the answers and we should look at the information presented and make our own decisions. She says, quote, I find his story from birth to adulthood a fascinating psychological profile, end quote. Okay, so where is this story of Chris Watts from birth to adulthood? Did she get a memo that we didn't? I've been dying to know his childhood story. Are we going to get it? I feel that's where many of the answers lie. But she keeps blathering on about other stuff, like the people on social media presenting their relationship as all sparkly, all the while private messaging her for help. Then jabbers on about Shanann and the story she has told of meeting her Chris, how she was down in the dumps in a dark place, had health challenges, divorced, and he came in at that time, and I'm waiting for her to tell us all this shit she promised about Asshat. She has alluded to knowing his story from birth to adulthood, but I don't believe it. That fuckface presented himself to Shanann in such a way that she thought he was good husband material, that society would agree that he possessed the traits of what we as a whole think a quote-unquote good husband and father should be. Miss Lena said that because of what fuckface did, that it's caused some women to give their innocent, gentle, and loving husbands the side eye. For those that don't know, side eye is looking at somebody through your peripheral vision with disapproval, animosity, or scorn. Another way to describe it would be your head is facing forward but your eyes are looking off to the side. You know what I mean. Now, the levels of hostility can vary in intensity towards this other person. Sometimes side-eye is followed up with dirty looks, eye-rolling, an icy glare, and/or a lingering look of contempt or disdain. This is also known as a loaded glance. If done properly, it can strike a fear into the person and let them know that if they choose to continue whatever stupid shit they're doing or saying, that you may have to consider striking down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger. So yeah, all these husbands and boyfriends and fiancés are catching hell because of the dumb shit he did. Miss Lena says, quote, I don't believe Shanann was hiding problems in her relationship with Chris and overcompensating on social media for it. She seemed to truly believe she had a great relationship with him, and he was very good to her for most of their time together, end quote. I disagree. Maybe at first it was this way, but let's not forget, Shanann talked to a table mate at a hibachi-style restaurant. He told CBI that he thought it was in March or April 2018. This gentleman just so happened to be a licensed attorney in Denver. Shanann and a friend met him at this restaurant in Westminster, Colorado. It's one of those hibachi places where they sit you like a table of 12 and they'll sit you with strangers and stuff, and then the chef comes out and kind of does a show as he's cooking everyone's food. It was that type of place, and people will tend to talk to each other, and he was there with his wife, and he said Shanann was there with her friends. The lawyer said he spoke with Shanann about family law issues concerning divorce in Colorado. And just a fun little fact, I lived in Westminster, Colorado in the early to mid-80s for 4 years. That makes me practically a friend of Shanann, even though that was around the time she was born in New Jersey, but still, you know. And you guys are in luck. I'm going to play the interview this gentleman did with CBI at the end of this video, and of course I cleaned it up a little bit with the gaps in recording, and I want you guys to tell me in the comments who you think is the friend of Shanann that he's describing. He didn't know her name. He said she was visiting from North Carolina. And then Miss Lena spends a few pages reciting the video that Shanann did in May 2018, the one where she's wearing the Purple Thrive t-shirt. I've seen that video at least a dozen times. Well, more than that if you count all the clips and the times they've shown it on the news. That's the one they always show on the news. And since it's public knowledge and record, I might as well read it to you. In case you weren't aware, this video was included as part of the discovery documents. But even though she was talking about how good her life is and how happy she is and everything's just all perfect and shit, she's lying through her teeth. I can see and detect a note of underlying sadness and determination and fighting. Fight for what you want and etc. That sort of thing. Here, I'll go ahead and play it on this screen while I yammer on, and just look at her. Look at her face, her eyes, even though she's talking about how great her job is and how happy she is. Her eyes and her expression aren't saying the same thing. She does look very bittersweet, sad, and happy at the same time when she reminisces about meeting her Chris, as she called him. But we all know how that turned out. Didn't have to. All he had to do was act like a mature adult. She started off that video saying, quote, I had some health challenges, and then I met Chris. I met Chris because of those health challenges. My friend sent me a friend suggestion for him. It was actually his cousin's wife, and I deleted it. I was like, I'm not interested. I don't want to meet a guy. Bye-bye. So I deleted her friend suggestion for him, and instead of deleting the friend request, she should have deleted her Facebook account in its entirety, and then she should have ran for the goddamn hills. Her first instinct was to say no. Please, please, ladies, listen to your inner voice. Shanann continued, quote, I was diagnosed 2 months later, and I went through one of the, I would say, darkest times of my life because things just got scarier, worse. I thought my life was crumbling underneath me, and I didn't know which way to turn, and I got a friend request from Chris. That's when narcissists sneak into your life, when you are vulnerable. You're so very susceptible to them during that time. Shanann continues, I was in a really bad place, and I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook, and I was like, what the heck? I'm never gonna meet him, except God Almighty, son. That's all I can say. Quote, Papa Ronnie. Shanann says, well, one thing led to another, and 8 years later we have 2 kids, we live in Colorado, and he's the best thing that ever happened to me. That's the one they love to play on the news, over and over and over. Shanann said at that time he knew me at my worst, and he accepted me, and because of my health challenges, because I got so sick, I let him in, and he only knew me at that time. He knew me at my worst, and he accepted me, and you know, through your vows, through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Shanann continues, please know this is not me. I'm quoting Shanann. No way in hell I'd be saying all that lovey-dovey bullshit. Quote, I'm telling you, when I met Chris, I pushed him away. I gave every excuse for him to run. I mean every. I gave him an out every single day, and if you guys knew my story with Chris, you know I gave him an out. He went to my colonoscopy. I tortured him. I rejected him. Okay, so this is me now. I can see how a colonoscopy could be considered a date. In some instances, you know, when you go to Six Flags or Disney and you get a picture of the adventure as a keepsake when you come off a ride and they show it to you and all that. Well, my doctor came out, you know, at the end of my colonoscopy when I was coming to, and he had 2 or 3 8x10 glossies for me to take home. Really nice, clear, well-lit pictures of the inside of my colon. I don't know what to do with them. I wonder if she gave one to Chris to commemorate their date, you know. Cricky was all into sticking things in the anus, so that might have been a fun date idea for them as well, if Pinhead hadn't gotten arrested for murdering his family. Or another fun idea for a date for Cricky is they could stay in and then stick a camera and a flashlight up each other's butt. The last bit of Shanann's video reads, I pushed him away time and time again, but when I cancel dates last minute, because that's how life is with my health challenges, you cancel things at the last minute, and it's hard for people to get. I can attest that this is true, what Shanann said about that. But he stuck around, and he stuck around because he's the one for me, and he is amazing, and I can't tell you how wonderful he is, end quote. Then the author tells of Mother's Day and how CW, quote, Chris framed all the important dates in their lives, their wedding day and the respective birthdays of their family. He included homemade picture frames decorated by the girls. Bella's was a photo of Chris and the girls, and Cece's frame had a photo of Shanann and Cece in it. Both photos were full of embraces and smiles, because they were just happy. They were in hog heaven. Oh, and Mr. Perfect Husband started the affair with Nikki about a month later. But if you have watched the first in the Unmasking Nicole Kessinger series on True Crime in Colorado, you may speculate that they had been carrying on longer than they said. I do think it just heated up to boiling over because, you know, when they were left to their own devices over the summer, they turned into teenagers, unsupervised teenagers. And I think they became sexual a day or two after Shanann and the kids left for North Carolina. On the day of the 29th, the texts of, are we bad people, and I'm going to have trouble sleeping without your warm body tonight. These kind of texts were going back and forth between them. I wonder if Nikki had seen Shanann going on and on about what perfection Pinhead was at both being a husband and a father, and Nikki was like, cool. She thought it was an advertisement. Many people get confused on social media about what really is or is not an ad. It's a thing. It really is. Cricky is proof that evolution can go in reverse. Why can't they just have like a psychiatrist or some sort of mental health professional that goes around like Super Nanny does in her car, and she comes around the corner really fast and stuff, and then she goes in and she fixes the parents and she fixes the kids and everybody has a happy ending and all that bullshit? Well, too bad Miss Lena can't go knocking on doors and, hit this shit, nip it in the bud before it blows the hell up. Then she tells us Shanann's Facebook post started to diminish around the time he started his sneaky and torrid affair. We're talking about, of course, Pinhead Asshat. And then Shanann's Facebook went to pretty much nothing, just dormant. Shanann really did believe she had a great marriage until she went to North Carolina for the summer of 2018. Quote, when she was confiding in a close friend Addie over text messages, she said, "We've never had problems like this in our marriage, ever," end quote. Miss Lena says, quote, people want to believe there were red flags with Chris because everyone wants to think if they were in this situation, they would be able to spot someone capable of doing what he did and to get out before it was too late. This is most likely a situation where if there were any, quote, red flags before he met Nikki, they would be incredibly subtle and nothing would suggest someone was capable of murdering his pregnant wife, let alone his own children, end quote. So, pretty much no red flags, and if there were, it only would have been after he met Nikki, and then they would have still been very, very subtle, which hindsight's 2020, so yeah, we can point out this, and this, The chapter continues, quote, people want to believe there were red flags with Chris because everyone wants to think that if they were in this situation, they would be able to spot someone capable of doing what he did and get out before it was too late. This is most likely a situation where there weren't any red flags before he met Nikki. They would be incredibly subtle and nothing would suggest someone capable of murdering his pregnant wife, let alone his children, end quote. So, in the case of a narcissist or a bumbling idiot such as Chris Asshat was, you're just shit out of luck. That's what she's saying. This chapter disappointed the hell out of me. The beginning suggested she was going to give us her professional opinion. Where is it, damn it? Did I miss it? I'm being serious. And when she said, quote, I find this story from birth to adulthood a fascinating psychological profile, end quote, I got happier than a unicorn eating multicolored cake on a rainbow. I'm like, where did you find out about this? Let me pull up a chair. Let's pop some popcorn. And then, did I overlook it? Did I miss that too in the chapter? As far as red flags, well, there aren't any sometimes. Just as in this case. Not until the end when he morphed into a creature she didn't know. Ladies, if your partner refuses to tell you what their beef is, and you are in North Carolina, do not go home. Tell him or her that they are scaring you and that you need to stay in a safe place and they need to go away and leave you the fuck alone. They've basically told you they want to split anyway. There, I said it for Miss Lena. But she quotes another author named Abby Ellen that says, quote, some people are just really good at lying and there aren't going to be any signs, end quote. Well, goddamn, thanks. Thanks for nothing, goddammit. Well, damn, let me do it. If your partner is a helpful, agreeable doormat, then all of a sudden stops doing all of that shit and turns into a giant asshole douche that you no longer recognize, then that is a red flag. Wave your white flag and surrender the marriage. Grab your shit and run like a bat out of hell. Wipe your hands of them because you're done. Miss Lena tells us that diagnosis is not always simple and they can't put people into neat little boxes. Then she makes a cutting comment about our current healthcare system and states that she could write a whole nother book on that shit. And that's where the chapter ends. Boom, done. Say what? I feel cheated and bewildered. I'm gonna need some psychotherapy myself when I finish this book. God almighty, son. What'd you do? Haul off the bodies or something? I researched most of this shit for this chapter. Miss Lena babbled on about psychology and/or psychotherapy stuff and got me all excited for nothing, thinking we were about to hear from the time Cindy birthed a 10-pound baby monster. But no, she said believingly, and I believed. She broke my trust. I'm sorry, I felt the need to say something off color. I am acting out because I feel betrayed by Miss Lena. I am voicing my displeasure. I feel that I am communicating my feelings. I need you to validate my feelings. What in the hell kind of chapter was this? She kept talking about analyzing Pinhead and then didn't. So when are you going to construct your theory? I was led to believe it was going to be in this chapter. I'm waiting for the adjective-filled description of this perfect storm you speak of. I want to resolve this conflict in a healthy way. Holding in my sarcasm physically hurts, but I've restrained myself because I have been told that I'm a bully and that I tear apart everyone in my chapters. You know, I was raised to not act out in public, but the title about CW being an enigma, so is this chapter. It's an enigma. It's definitely a head scratcher. Or maybe I'm overtired. That damn insomnia has been a bitch lately. And let's use today's vocabulary word in a sentence. This chapter was an enigma. And that will be the end of this portion of the video. Please stay tuned if you would like to listen to the interview that CBI did with a Denver attorney that had a conversation with Shanann or they shared a table at a hibachi restaurant. That will be the end of this chapter. I hope the hell it made sense. I feel a bit jumbled up myself. Before I go, I just want to say, which one of you cocksuckers complained about my goddamn swearing? Oh, I have the wrong notes again. But really, what I wanted to say, I have the best subscribers in the world. I know a lot of channel creators say that, but y'all truly leave the kindest comments I've ever seen. I've never received so much love all at once in my life. Thank you all for taking the time that you do to leave comments, and those of you that leave the long, very sweet comments. I do try to read every comment. I'm sure I miss some. It's hard to show up in my feed once, like, there's a chain of them. You know what I'm saying? Probably not. I'm overtired. I'm not sleeping good. But sometimes I'll just spend an entire afternoon reading the comments and blocking people. I'm just kidding. I only block somebody that's an asshole, whether it be to me or somebody else. And I don't always see all the assholes, so feel free to point it out if I miss something. We don't need that shit harsh and or mellow. I will pick up with chapter 18 in the next video. Thank you for listening.
How do you pronounce your first name?
Olainka.
Olainka?
Yeah, but nobody ever calls me that actually. I go by Hamza.
But
Because it's just like...
it's just easier to pronounce.
It's a pain.
So, all right. Well, thanks for contacting us.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same people here.
Yeah.
You recognize those two?
I do. Well, I don't recognize him. I recognize him from, TV.
From the news.
But I recognize her 100%.
Okay.
100%.
And where did you say that you saw her?
So I was at Mount Fuji. It's
Okay.
called Mount Fuji Hibachi. It's up on, you go 25 north, and the exit is 144.
Okay.
And there's like pseudo mall there.
Sure.
It's got JCPenney's, Macy's. I think
I think I know.
Perfume store.
I think I know what you're
It's
talking
got
about.
a restaurant called Who Hot,
Yes.
Mongolian Grill.
Yeah.
So it's right there.
Okay.
Is where Mount Fuji is. And that restaurant is I was there last night.
Oh, yeah.
It's very important to me because that's where I found out that my wife was having a baby boy.
Oh, really?
So
Congratulations.
they know me there as the guy who turned the table over, threw the chairs, because I was just overjoyed with excitement.
Yeah.
Did you want me to go into?
Yeah. Do you remember when this was?
And that's a question I've been racking in my brain. I would like to say we took our baby moon in April.
Okay.
And I can go through my credit card statements because I remember that I paid for the meal that night with my wife. April?
Okay.
I want to say.
Okay.
I could be totally off the mark.
That's fine.
It could be March. It could be May.
Sure.
I don't think it's May though.
So probably
it's
March or
April
April?
or earlier. Yeah.
Okay. And that was this year.
It was definitely this year.
Okay. Do you remember what day of the week it was by chance?
It was a weekend. It was either
like Friday, Saturday,
Friday
Saturday,
night.
Sunday?
I think
Friday
it was a Friday or Saturday night.
Okay, all right. And so is this like a regular hibachi place where several people sit around the same table.
Exactly.
And the chef does his thing.
You see, with complete stranger.
Okay.
The chef does the whole magic thing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Flips the shrimp and all that
That's
good
right.
stuff. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's what it was.
All right. Was she sitting at the table with you guys?
Yeah, we were sitting. So when you walk into Mount Fuji, no matter what direction you're coming from, the restaurant will face you this way.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where you're coming from. You got to walk in like this.
Straight in. Okay.
When you walk in, to the left side is the bar.
Okay.
To the right side is the hibachi. We have about 10 different hibachis.
Okay.
We were seated at the same one where I found out my wife was having the boy.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
the one when you walk in, it's the very last one by the window on the side. The last table.
Okay.
By the window on the side, closest to the door.
Okay.
Me and my wife sat down first. Shanann and a friend sat next to us.
Okay. Do you remember what her friend looked like?
Yes. Friend, I don't remember her hair color. White female. Distinct eyes. I don't remember the color of her eyes. Maybe, I think what stood out was either they were super bright or a little bit big, but she had distinct eyes. She was wearing a black dress. The friend was wearing a black, it's a kind of lacy dress. Shanann was wearing blue jeans with a blouse, like a, I am horrible with colors. The color of that blouse would be something like,
Okay. Kind of a orange rust.
orangey, but very light orange.
Okay.
Faded orange,
Okay.
if you will. They came in next. They sat next to us.
Did they introduce themselves?
No,
Okay.
no, they didn't. And then my wife is not the talking type. She's pretty snobbish. She doesn't talk to anyone. I'm the guy I'm the life of the party.
Talk to everybody.
Hey,
Okay.
what's going on? So I just turned to them and I said, well, hello there. And the friend was the first to respond. I said, hello. And I said, first time here? And they said, I think Shanann was sitting next to me. Her friend was on the other side. Or the friend was next to me and Shanann was on the other side. No, Shanann was next to me. And I said, you guys been here for the first time here? I said, no. They said, yes, this was the first time there. I said, it's not. They asked us if it was our first time. I said, no, it's not our first time. And somehow, somewhere, I don't know how it happened, but I found out that her friend was actually just visiting from North Carolina.
Okay.
Her friend was visiting. And I said, wait a minute now. I'm not originally from the U.S., but if I would call a place home, for me, it's North Carolina. That's where I first came when I came to the U.S. That's where I lived for 8 years. My identity lies with I love this state. So I said to the girl, I said, that's my home state. And she said, no way. I said, yeah, I used to live in Charlotte. So you gotta be kidding. That she used to live in a town called Gastonia.
Gastonia?
Yeah. Gastonia is neighboring to Charlotte.
Is it like a suburb or is it a ways away?
No, it's separate.
Okay.
It's separate. Yeah, it's separate. A suburb would be like, actually Charlotte is not like Denver, where you have Denver, and then you have Centennial, and then you have North Glen. Charlotte is Charlotte.
Okay.
And it's just huge.
Okay.
It's just big. It's bigger than Denver, actually. It's huge. And then you have neighboring towns like Mint Hill or Gastonia. So when somebody says, I live in Charlotte, they could live an hour away from you, but they live in Charlotte.
Still in Charlotte.
Right.
Okay.
So Gastonia is about an hour away.
All right.
Or 45. Oh, an hour. So she told me about that. She says now that she lives in, it was either Morrisville or Lake Norman. One or the other. Either Morrisville or Lake Norman, where she says she lived now. And she proceeded to tell me about how her house got broken into when she lived in Gastonia. This is the friend.
Okay.
She had an alarm system. I have an alarm system. If something sometimes I open the door inadvertently and the police are already calling me and saying, hey, I'm coming to your house. And she said no. She said by the time she got back to the house, in a matter of 2 minutes, the burglar had done what he needed to do and taken off. So I said, oh, okay. So it was, and I said, well, you should sue somebody. I brought it up, and then she was like, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I sue people. So we kind of laughed about it. Shanann hears that. She's in on this conversation. She hears that and she's like, you're a lawyer? I said, yeah. I said, yeah. She said, what type of law do you do? I said, everything but family. She said, why don't you do family law? And I said, because I just hate family law. I said, I've been through a divorce before in family court, and it's just a nightmare. She said, really? Well, tell me more about that. So I'm telling her about how I got divorced here, ex-wife moved with 3 kids to Tennessee, how I fought for the kids, and how I spent so much money fighting for the kids. In the end, she moved with the kids, and I see my girls, but it's a burden going back and forth. And then I believe it's Shanann who said to me that, I want to say it was Shanann or her friend. I want to swear that it's Shanann, but I'm not 100% sure. it was Shanann, that she had gotten divorced before, is what she said. She said I said, were there any kids in that marriage? And she said, no, there were no kids. Said, I think the guy is an attorney too, her ex-husband. She said, what? Her ex-husband
is what?
Is an attorney.
Okay.
She said she brought him up. I said, what do you mean by that? She said, while she worked and busted her tail, he was going to school. And then I said, so what happened with the divorce? She said, well, the lawyer in the divorce, in her view, in Shannon's view, made out with so much money. And I said, well, that's kind of how it works. I mean, nobody wins. The lawyers are the ones that are going to get paid. And then she said, well, so tell me more about your divorce involving the girl. And I said, well, that's it. She ended up moving to Tennessee, and she's asking me, she's like, what's the law in Colorado when divorce happened? And I said, well, in Colorado, we have something called the spammer. It's called the spammer doctrine. And I told her about it. The spammer doctrine is, it said, a judge cannot tell you or the woman to stay in Colorado. The judge has no power to tell you where to live. What the judge can do, though, is say, you get to keep the kid, or you get to keep the kids. But the judge cannot say, you have to stay here. We're going to give you custody of the kids, but then you have to stay here. So she says, so let's, for example, if somebody gets divorced, they can move away with the kids. I said, well, that's exactly what happened here. I said, do you have kids? She said, yes. 2 girls. I said, okay. How old are they? She told me their ages. I think she said it was, I don't remember. Maybe one was close to 5. I don't know. 2? I don't know. But it was 2 girls. And I said, are you thinking about a divorce? I mean, is that why you're asking me this? And her friend kind of smiled. Shanann smiled. But I did not get an answer to that question. And so I kind of let that kind of died away. We ate our food. We finished eating. We were the last, I remember this very well, we were the last set of customers. Oh, I forgot to tell you, sorry. Another party joined us at that table. A man and a woman. But the woman was older than the man, and when I asked what the relationship was, it was mother and son. Mother was visiting from Minnesota, where son used to live with mother. And son lives here now. Mother was visiting from Minnesota, and we're talking about how cold Minnesota can be.
Yeah.
So I remember this very distinctly. We were the last people to leave the restaurant. Matter of fact, the waiter kept coming back over and saying, you guys need boxes, kind of like saying, hey, you gotta go, yeah. So,
remember what time you got to the restaurant?
I know they stopped sitting people at 8:45. We had to have gotten there about 8:30.
Okay.
They closed at 9:30, I think, on the weekend. And the guy was chasing us out at like 10 minutes to 10, like 9:50. It was still there.
Okay.
So when we got up, Shanann came to me again. My wife is talking to the mother and son from Minnesota and Shannon's friend. She comes to me again and says, is that really the law in Colorado, that it's possible that the court can give the child to the man? And I said, yeah. I said, what screwed me over was that I'm an attorney. Attorneys work long hours. Judges know that. A reasonable judge is not going to say, I'm going to take the kids from a woman that doesn't have a job, that's home full time, and give it to the guy, no matter how well-meaning that guy is. What the court can do, though, is, as they did for me, give me all the breaks, financial breaks, access to the kids, all that stuff. But ultimately, they'll give it to the woman. I said, but I have seen cases where the guy is not a lawyer. The guy worked, 30 hours a week, and you tell the court, I'm trying to move the kids to North Carolina. The court could tell you, look, North Carolina is so far that it could destroy the relationship between father and children. You can go if you want. Kids go to daddy. They stay here. And so she's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, that's the law. It's called the spammer doctrine. I said, look it up. I said, but I've seen cases where because of that, the mother says, okay, I'm not moving away anymore. I'm going to stay. I'm not going to go. Because they see that the court is going to give the children to the dad. And then I said, I said, I don't do family law. I know people who are really good family law attorneys. If you need one, just let me know, And she asked for my information. I didn't have a card at the time, so I just gave her my cell phone number. I said, if you ever need anything, give me a call. She also asked me, you had to do with that first divorce that she had. She said, I don't remember. I had to do with that first divorce though. Okay. And so when we went outside, she said to me again, she said, why is divorce really a messy process? Is family law really a messy place? And I said, I always tell people, whatever you can do, I know now, my wife that I'm with now, unless I see a guy texting her on her phone or something, whatever the difference is between us, we're going to work it out. Yeah, because it's a messy process. And she said, really? I said, yeah. I said, you've been through it. She said, yes, but I went through it without children. I said, okay, yeah. Without children, no problem. It's just wash your hands clean, and as long as you're not a millionaire who's making a lot of money, your average Joe who makes regular money, just cut yourself loose and get out of it. But if you have kids, it's a messy process. She said, okay. That's all I remember. I was watching, so I record certain programs, like Nightline. You're gonna laugh at this, but like Judge Mathis and the other crazy lady, Judge Judy. Right. So sometimes I would record them over 3 weeks. It's too much. I'm not gonna sit there and watch. I'll just delete. Or sometimes I'll press play, listen to what it's gonna cover for like 2 minutes. If I don't like it, I'll delete it. One of those episodes, I didn't even know anything. I had heard that some guy had killed his wife in Colorado. It happens every day. My wife's upstairs. I'm downstairs. I press play on the DVR. Up comes Shannon's picture. I don't even remember where I threw the remote. I'm screaming. I run upstairs and I'm yelling at my wife. I'm like, turn the TV on. So she turns it on upstairs. I tell her, go to this episode of Nightline. She turns it on. I said, do you know that woman? Vaguely. I said, no, this is not vaguely. Come on, I need you to search your brain. She's looking and she's like, I don't know, I think somewhere. I was like, no, think. He backed you. She's like, maybe is this the woman that you were talking to? He brought you business. I'm screaming, yes, that's her. My wife doesn't remember as much as I do, but I remember. I talked to her. I had told her at the time when we were talking that day. I said, you can feel free to ask me anything you want to ask me personally, but you have to understand it's not going to be privileged because your friend's here. If it's just me and you one-on-one, I will take that as attorney-client privilege. It's your privilege. You own it. I told her that. Like, she said, really? I said, yeah. She said, well, I've talked to lawyers before and I just talk. And I said, and they give my stuff away. And I said, no. You can grieve those guys. You can take them to the Supreme Court and have them punished for that. I said, it's your privilege. I said, but we can't. Anything I tell you here is open. And she said, well, this is one of my best friends ever, so you can feel free to say whatever you say. So that's why I'm able to talk about it. It's not privilege. Sure. But that's, to me, what I walked away from at that day was just, to me, personally, that woman really wanted to ask me some deeper questions about divorce. She couldn't do it where she was. I didn't think anything of it. I meet people all the time who say, you're a lawyer, can I pick your brain? Happens 3-4 times a week. Yeah, sure. It's not a big deal. Yeah, I get that a lot but when I saw the news, I'm going, I don't know what happened. A woman talked to me about divorce stuff, and she seemed very curious about Colorado law on divorce that involves children.
What was her demeanor like during dinner? Was she happy? Were they laughing?
Very sweet lady. She told me this too. Oh yeah, she told me that she had some type of medical condition. That when she had one of the babies, I think first or second one, she had to be on bed rest for a long time because she had some kind of medical. Now I asked my wife about that. I said, do you remember what it was? And my wife said that she doesn't remember, but to her, she thinks it was lupus. That's what my wife said. I don't remember what it was. I just know she told me about that medical condition. And she even told me what pills she was taking for it. And I remember telling my wife, like, yeah, it's a little bit TMI. How would you tell anybody what I take? And my wife was like, most people talk. Most Americans talk. Yeah. They're very open. But I remember that. Yeah.
Did you see him get into a car?
No, and here's why. We parked, so that mall, it's the lock of the drawer. You can park right in front of the restaurant, as we did last night, and that same day, or you could park like 2 streets away.
North 40. Yeah.
And we parked in the front.
Okay.
And we got in the car. I was driving that day. Oh, I will have an exact date, and I'll tell you why. I was driving, so my wife drives a Range Rover. Her Range Rover went in for service at the Range Rover dealership in Flatiron, and they gave her a loaner, a Discovery loaner. That's what I was driving that day.
Oh, okay.
So that...
Okay, yeah, if you could dig that up.
That would give us...
Send me an email, that'd be great. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was driving Discovery, Range Rover Discovery, a gray one, which was parked right in front of the restaurant. So I didn't see them get into a car.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, and just to confirm, it's just those two, no kids, no husbands?
No kids, no husbands, no.
Like that.
No, I remember, I don't know if I asked her where the kids were, and if she said they were either with the grandparents or with the husband. I don't remember her answer to the question, but I remember asking her. Her friend, did her friend have kids? Don't think her friend had kids. And I remember Shanann saying I asked if they were going to have more kids. And I think she said, I hope I'm not getting confused. Her friend may have said this or she may have said it. Somebody had said that the husband wanted a boy. And so she can't guarantee that they won't have another one. But I couldn't tell you if it was Shanann that said that or her friend said that. But I could swear her friend said she had no kids. So that had to have come from Shanann. But I remember because I told her, I said, well, if you went through such a pain for one of those pregnancies, why would you have another one? She said, yeah, I think he wants a boy though. So we might have that number 3. It's Shanann. Okay. I think it's Shanann. Yeah, but I don't remember which child put her on significant bed rest. If it was the first or second, I couldn't tell you that. One of them did though, I remember that.
Any other medical conditions that she talked about that you remember?
No, I still don't remember the exact condition. My wife thinks it was lupus. I don't know. Lupus to me, all I know about lupus is, so I'm from Nigeria. There's a very popular singer, British singer called Seal. He was born and raised in Nigeria. He had lupus.
Oh,
and
okay.
He was married to, maybe he's still married to Heidi Klum.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I think they're divorced now. I think
you're right.
Yeah, but that's him.
Yeah, okay.
That guy that's how I heard about lupus.
Yes.
I'd never heard the word again until my wife told me about it. And I said to my wife, I remember saying to her, I said, well, lupus to me, with Seal, it scarred his face. And my wife said, it doesn't have to scar your face. It has something to do with you.
Yeah, I think it's an autoimmune.
That's what she said.
I don't know anything about it either.
Exactly. So I said, oh, okay. But she definitely told us about that condition. Yeah.
What about alcohol? Did she drink any alcohol, you remember?
God, I don't know. Don't know. I know the guy, the son with the woman from Minnesota, I know they drank. I know they ordered a drink. We didn't order a drink. Those guys they squirt sake in a plastic bottle.
Uh-huh.
I know I had it. Don't know if she had it though.
Okay.
Don't know. I know we didn't order drinks.
Yeah, no wine glass you remember on the table or anything like that?
One of them may have ordered a drink. One. A friend, her. I don't think I saw her drinking though. I don't know. Yeah. I know I didn't drink that day. I typically don't drink when I go to that place. One, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And two, you can just get it from the sake that they spray in your mouth.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can actually ask for more. You can say, hey, try it, do it again.
Yeah.
So,
Fill her up.
Exactly. So I just remember walking away from that conversation going, that woman wanted to tell me more about it. She wanted to ask me more about it before. She couldn't do it. For whatever reason. It was late.
Obviously, it was on her mind.
It was definitely, I as a litigator, I get half of my paycheck comes from being able to read witnesses. I could tell. She had those thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
But she didn't explicitly say, I want to get a divorce from her. But she was asking me more questions than a normal person would ask, just sitting to an attorney at a restaurant.
More than just a conversation.
Yes, it was. I mean, we were separated at the end when we were standing up.
Yeah.
When the guy had taken, you put your credit cards into the thing that went to swipe them. Everybody was standing up. Me and her were separate, one-on-one. My wife, a couple from Minnesota, and her family were talking. Her and I were talking. And then when we went outside, the mother and son from Minnesota had left. It was me, my wife, her and her friend. And my wife was obviously, again, I think she was getting impatient. It was still me and Shanann talking. Her friend didn't, other than telling me about how the guy brought into her house in North Carolina. Yeah. I remember that. So when I saw that picture, then I started reading up on the story, and I'm going, all right, I could stay silent. Nobody would know what I know to let you guys know what's it going to hurt. Yeah. Let me just put it out there. And whatever you want to do with it, whatever help you guys need from me, happy to provide it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. See if we could track down this other friend in North Carolina.
Yeah, I remember that very well. I mean, I mean, we were talking about what I call my home state.
Sure.
Yeah. I worked there. We talked about when I drove for the county. I drove a truck for the county for 7 years. And and we talked about the roads. We talked about,
How'd you go from truck driver to attorney?
I went to school while I was doing the truck driving. I'd do that in the mornings, and then in the evenings I'd go to school at University of North Carolina. I graduated in 2007, and then went to law school in St. Louis, at Washington University in St. Louis. The lucky thing for me is when I was going to undergrad, the county, so long as you had a C or better and you turn in your transcript, they'll pay your tuition. Yeah.
So that's been a nice benefit.
Exactly. So that paid the way through college. Yeah. Law school was a combination of scholarship and loans, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah.
How'd you end up out here?
I worked in New York for 1 year with a law firm out there. I heard from the grapevine that they're gonna gut my class. There were 75 of us they hired in 1 month.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, they thought the money was going to be there. They're gonna cut this class in half. And you might be on the chopping block. So I started looking for jobs anywhere I could find it. I mean, I didn't care where it was. Alaska, didn't care. And a firm in Denver here called me. Within the time that guy gave me that information, and when I started working in Denver, 3 weeks.
That's fast.
I was out. Because he said, I think you're going to be on the chopping block. So I took him.
How long have you been here?
Since 2011. Since November 2011. Yeah. So I bounced around a bit, but I've been here now. I finally opened up my own firm around February.
That.
Yeah, I opened it in February. And what I do now is I have my own practice, and then when a case comes in, I split time with my practice and firm. So like one of the firms I'm working for today is up here on the 4th floor.
Oh, okay.
It's called Shanann and Biscuit. Next week I might be in Centennial. That's the way I keep the money coming in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I got it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, anything else about that interaction that you can think of? Anything we haven't covered that you think we should talk about?
She didn't talk about him.
Did she ever mention her husband's name at all that you remember?
No. Didn't mention him at all. No, the divorce thing, I mean, she was so interested in that topic. She was also interested in, she actually asked me, she had said, your ex-wife didn't bring you off too, did she? I said, no, I brought her up. Because I think she was still a little bit aggrieved about that first guy, because she said, you know, I worked, and he went to school, he worked his way up based on my efforts. And I said, yeah, you know, but people are unappreciative when now you've got 2 little kids and, you know, don't worry about it. I said, yeah, but it crosses my mind. And she was pissed that that attorney got a lot of money out of the divorce. And my takeaway was she was aggrieved on two fronts. The guy doing what he did, and then she didn't think she got a fair share of the split. The attorney got most of the money. And I said, that's divorce. Nobody wins.
Yeah. That's part of the game, you know.
Yeah, nobody wins. I mean, my ex just got the kids, but every day she calls me asking me for money because she's like, you know, I don't have any money and I'm stuck with them. And I'm like, well, you don't have to be stuck with them. Send them back to them.
Yeah, right?
She's pissed. Everybody's pissed. I'm pissed they're so far away. She's pissed that she doesn't have enough money. She thinks I'm living the good life in Denver and don't care about the kids and divorce court. Nobody wins. Yeah.
That sounds like you're gonna have another one. So.
Yeah. I'm good now. So I told her. I told my wife. I said, we're not splitting. I mean, if it's infidelity now, that's unforgivable. I'm not doing that. But other than that, we're gonna work this thing out. Yeah. But no, I don't. If I think of something, I'll let you know. It's funny how I had heard about that murder, or alleged murder, however you want to put it, didn't pay any attention to it. I mean, it was like he got into one here, one out here. Some guy killed his wife and called out, okay, fine, whatever. I didn't pay any attention. It was that. We have the TV downstairs is like 65 inches. I mean, it's huge. And her face.
Yeah, it's kind of just right there.
It's just looking at me. I was screaming. I was like, you know, the baby, you don't care. You're not going to believe that. It was joke. And it's sad. I walked away from that thinking that, but very lovely woman. Very jovial. She was nice. She was funny. We were laughing. The smile never left her face. I mean, she was just smiling. Nice woman.
Did you notice if she was wearing like a patch or anything on her arm?
It was definitely a short sleeve. She was absolutely wearing a short sleeve. I don't recall a patch. So it may have been one, but I don't recall.
Yeah, she's wearing one in that picture.
I think I saw that. I think I saw something like that. I think I did. Oh, you know what's funny too about this picture? That's exactly what's funny. But you see this top? Mm-hmm. You see how it's cut in the shoulder?
Yeah.
That's exactly how the one she was wearing that night was.
Oh, that's Steve's style?
That's right.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That's exactly how it was. Different color though. Not black.
Okay.
It wasn't black. It was not black. I may have seen that, but I can't say with 100% certainty. Yeah. But the style of the blouse is exactly the same. And the blouse had at the end, I don't know how to describe this. You know how at the bottom of women blouses, it will be like elastic?
Oh, yeah.
That will make it like...
almost like a sack type.
Yeah, that will make it like come up like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what that
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Her friend was definitely there visiting from North Carolina. 100%.
All right. Well,
I think if you can find that friend, have you guys ever been? I mean, it could really help.
Yeah, we'll work on finding out who that is.
Yeah, she was visiting from North Carolina.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure we could probably nail that one down.
Yeah, she was here with her, and we left them. We went straight to the car, which was across from the restaurant. Actually, not in front of the restaurant. I don't remember which direction they went. I think they went. Well, as I said, the restaurant, no matter where you're coming from, it's facing you like this.
Yeah.
We went to the car right here. I want to say that.
Remember if she took any phone calls or texts during
No,
dinner?
no, they didn't take it. nobody took any calls. No, we were also engrossed. I mean, it was a good group. You don't get that often.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you either get people who just don't talk that much, or as a party of two, you get a party of like 10 who came together. Yeah. So you're screwed because they've got their thing going on. So you're just sitting there. That night was a rare one, where it was two, and we all sort of were codependent on one another for a good conversation. Yeah.
Anything about the conversation that you remember that stood out?
No, I just know the couple from Minnesota told me about how the wind blows in Minnesota so strong it moves the buildings there.
Right.
I remember that. I remember the friend talking about somebody breaking into her house and how they now live in Lake Norman or Morrisville in Charlotte. I remember Gastonia, and then I remember the divorce conversation with Shanann.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about this. Appreciate it.
Sure. You're welcome. Yeah, I wanted to be of any help I can be.
Appreciate
so
that
I'll get the date for that when we took that Range Rover.
Okay.
And got the loaner, because that's what I was driving that day. I'll email it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right.